We are live. He is John Matrix. I am Rhodes Rants. And we are hashing over the NFL 100 quarterback selection that we just witnessed on the show. Good evening, John Matrix.
Good evening. Good evening. I wasn't expecting it to be 2 hours long, but the first 30 minutes of it was all Tom Brady.
Yeah. And then Brett Favre took another 30 minutes.
Yeah. So it was basically the Tom Brady Brett Favre show. The only thing missing was John Madden.
I was okay with that, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm such a big Brett and Tom guy. I was okay with that.
Yeah, I wasn't a bit Brett Favre guy myself.
Oh, I was huge, man. Yeah.
I was a Cowboys fan, so, you know.
Well, I was a Niners fan, so you wouldn't think they were rivals of ours, but I had great respect for Brett, particularly his last 6 to 8 years where he was just out there getting creamed on a regular basis and still slinging it around like nobody's business.
He was getting creamed his whole career, man. That dude took a beating.
I will tell you, while I was watching the show, I was also on YouTube, and there were some streams going on of the show on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to gauge reaction through chats, and what I found out was there are a lot of pissed off Drew Brees fans right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they are pissed.
I knew that, but think of this.
Who you taking off, by the way, for Drew Brees?
Who are you really going to take off?
Yeah.
Honestly, let's talk about one player that made it. And just for the record, I got 8 of the 10 players correct. I didn't predict that Roger Staubach would get in because Terry Bradshaw had 4 rings, even though I said that Staubach was better. And also, I did say on my video that I put out, if anybody could get in, it would be Dan Marino on my list. So I actually had Terry Bradshaw and Bart Starr making it. I'm actually kind of surprised that Bart Starr didn't make it.
It's kind of surprising. I know Brett Favre is a big Bart Starr guy, so they didn't really. I don't think they ever really got into any omissions. There's
an after show going on right now, so maybe they're talking about it.
Yeah, I think Joe Montana's supposed to be on that one for the full hour.
Yeah, he is.
I didn't have any issues. Now, right up front, I'm happy Dan Marino made it. I know he didn't have the rings.
No.
But when you go back and you truly look at Dan's stats, and
boys and girls, Dan Marino was the greatest passer of the football ever. Not Aaron Rodgers. Dan Marino was the best thrower of the football ever.
Well, look, I'm 44, and from the time I legitimately started watching football around the age of 5 that I can remember, there were 2, what I would say, 3 fantastic quarterbacks during that about a 15, 16-year span. John Elway, Joe Montana, Dan Marino. That was the 3 for about 15 years. Yeah.
That was the holy grail of quarterbacks back then.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, like, if you'd have flashed back 20 years ago or even 15 years ago and we'd had the same list, Dan would have been a no-brainer. It's sort of like, the pre-Manning Brady, I mean, Dan would have been a shoe-in for this thing.
Yeah.
He was kind of on the edge, I think, because of the lack of rings. But I'll give you 1 year, for example, with Dan Marino. 1984.
That was insane. That was video game style.
Dan 5,000 yards and 48 touchdowns in 1984 when they would still knock your face off as a player.
Think of that. 48. No, he had 5,000 yards.
5,000 yards, 48 touchdowns.
That's like 7,000 yards today.
In the non-passing era.
Yeah.
It is remarkable.
Yeah. I think that's about 65 touchdowns today and 7,000 yards today. That's insane.
He had a cannon. He had Mark Duper out there catching passes from him, but he never really had any sort of he never had a complete team. He never did.
No.
The defense people forget those Niners teams that Montana played on had great defenses. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
And that was the era of dynasties too, 49ers in the 90s, Cowboys in the early 90s, and by that time, Dan Marino was an old guy.
Right. Well, and people forget John Elway didn't win Super Bowls till Terrell Davis came along.
No, but John Elway, what I think really gives John Elway the edge over Marino, John Elway dragged 3 of the worst teams ever into the Super Bowl, and he got crushed every single time.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, those teams had no business being in the Super Bowl.
Let me ask you an interesting question. Considering if they had 5 more slots, who's getting in? Who are you putting in?
I definitely think that Bradshaw and Bart Starr are getting in.
Okay,
right there. Probably, I would say probably Brees. Probably, I think Troy Aikman would be on there because he was actually nominated.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget, Fran Tarkenton was no joke. He was nominated also. Yeah. So actually, you kind of just have to look at their list because they had 22 players on there.
I'd put Steve in there.
Steve Young would probably be there too.
His rushing stats for his time was pretty outrageous,
Yeah, Joe Namath was on the list. The problem with Joe Namath is, I mean, forget about the stats and everything, okay? Because back in those days, damn near everybody was throwing more interceptions than touchdowns. He won that championship, and he pretty much never won another playoff game. I don't think he ever won another playoff game before or since then, I believe. I mean, I could be wrong about before, but after that, he didn't do nothing.
Well, and from that era, I'm going to go Staubach, Bradshaw from that general. Tarkenton would be another one I would probably have ahead of Namath,
Well, Namath wasn't in the Staubach era, really.
Well, he would have been at the end because
he was more in the Johnny Unitas era for the most part.
I think Namath played till what, 77 though, or 76 with the Rams. He finished out.
Let me see here. Also, you got to remember the Staubach. He went to the Navy too, so he started late.
Yep.
Joe Namath played from. Oh yeah, you're right. 1965 to 77.
Yeah, I thought he played right. He only retired a couple of years. Now he had some injuries that plagued him, but injuries are part of football. I mean,
true.
It just sort of is what it is. I noticed neither one of us even sniffed Aaron Rodgers in this thing.
No, I knew he was not going to make it. Because think of this. He is really more the modern day Dan Marino, wouldn't you say? Modern day Dan Marino with a ring, I would say. And
yeah, I mean, he's more mobile than Dan was, I guess. But I don't know where he'll be looked at in another. I figure he'll play. He's bringing up now that he wants to play till he's 42 or 43, but
I don't think so, man.
I give him 3 more years tops,
maybe 2, man. This dude gets beat up every year now, man.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I'm going to tell you the other guy that we don't talk about that has got huge numbers. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. Ben Roethlisberger. He's got.
But Ben was never on that kind of level.
Ben Roethlisberger was 5,000 yard seasons.
Yeah, but Matthew Stafford had 5,000 yards. I mean, you really
Matthew Stafford ain't got 2 Super Bowl rings though, and played for the Steelers on top.
Yeah,
of it.
But don't forget Roethlisberger's first Super Bowl.
It was a defensive Super Bowl.
Time horrible in that Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but even his whole career, he was never on the level of Brees and Rodgers. He wasn't. Brees and Rodgers,
I agree with that.
no, he wasn't that high. I mean, he was in that next tier to me, but I never put him up there. You know, it was clearly Tom Brady, Joe Montana. I'm sorry, not Joe Montana. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. Those are the guys. And I think he falls next to them, right in that next tier below them.
Well, for the last 15 years, Brees, Rodgers, Brady, Manning,
Roethlisberger.
He would be the fifth.
He'd be a clear number 5.
Yeah. Not bad for a 15-year span, by the way.
No.
The 5th best quarterback in the NFL for 15 years. And the story's not written on him. Could Ben win another one? God, yeah.
And the thing is, there's different tiers to that too. Brady is in a tier by himself. Then to me, you have Peyton Manning in the tier by himself. And then you have Brees and Rodgers in the 3rd tier. And then you have Roethlisberger in the 5th tier.
Yeah.
Just to distinguish the levels.
Yeah.
So, but he wasn't even going to come close to cracking this list.
And then you got some guys that just didn't get any play at all that are all-time great. Couple of guys I thought about right away. Warren Moon.
Some people were saying Warren Moon in the comment section.
The other, Jim Kelly. People forget.
Yeah.
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly was
Super
great.
Bowl.
He was great. I think if he just won one of those Super Bowls, he would get consideration for the list.
Yeah.
But Jim Kelly was really, really great.
Really good. Really good. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I mean, I've even heard some people say that those Bills teams are among, even though they lost those Super Bowls, they're among the greatest teams ever because
they were loaded.
They made it 4 years in a row.
Straight years.
Yeah.
But think of this, they were loaded and they got blown out by the Cowboys who were loaded twice.
I know it. I know it.
52-17 and 30-13.
Yeah.
And they actually led at halftime in the second one against the Cowboys. They led 13-7, and the Cowboys just blew them out in the second half.
It's still amazing to me that they lost that one to the Giants. You know, they were
field goals.
Yeah, I know it. So yeah, we're both pretty well on Drew Brees. Probably should have been on the outside looking in.
Oh, definitely on the outside.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a question. He should have been on the outside. I mean, they're talking about 100 years, and you can't look at the numbers because if you look at the numbers, Roger Staubach only played 11 years back in the 70s when they didn't throw it as much. But he went to 4 Super Bowls. He won 2 of them, and he retired with the highest quarterback rating of all time. That's all-time great stuff.
Right.
Drew Brees is great. Drew Brees is not better than Roger Staubach.
Now, I know a guy you're probably higher on than I am, and that's just probably because of your fandom. Troy Aikman. You're much higher on him than I am.
I watched Troy all the time, man.
I did too, though. You know, I mean, living here, that was the only game you was watching. I think Troy had some great, all-time great talent around him.
Most of these guys on the list did, outside of like Brady.
Irvin.
Look at Montana.
One of the greatest offensive lines ever, maybe the greatest offensive line ever.
It's probably the greatest.
The best left tackle ever, Larry Allen.
Larry Allen was all-time great.
Yeah.
He made the cut on the top 100.
I always struggle with Troy. I mean, it's a conversation I almost try to avoid with Cowboys fans because I'm just not high on Troy.
I'm gonna tell you,
he threw too many picks for my liking, even during that era.
Well, they all threw picks, but the thing is, he threw a lot of those picks his first 2 years when that team was awful. I mean, he was on that 1-15 Cowboys team first year, he could have died playing on that team. It was so bad.
It was an awful team. I remember watching it. It was awful. Their games were excruciating to make it through. Yeah.
But here's the thing about the Cowboys, the way they ran their offense, they ran it differently than a lot of teams. But also, here's another thing about those Cowboys teams. You know, those Cowboys teams in the 90s, they ranked dead last in passing attempts in the NFL in the 90s. Dead last. You know why? They were blowing everybody out. You didn't need to throw the ball. That team was so dominant. They were blowing everybody out. So what are you going to do? You're going to run the ball, right?
Eric Breen, hello. He says, Y.A. Tittle, Eddie LeBaron, Norm Van Brocklin.
Norm Van Brocklin was on the list, not Y.A. Tittle.
Yeah. So, and I've heard of, I've got friends that are big, sort of 8 to 10 years younger than me. They're big Staubach fans, so they're happy right now.
But here's another thing about Troy, though. Troy was deadly accurate, man.
Very accurate quarterback.
He had, when he retired. So
Sam Bradford, but
no, it was a completely different era, though. Troy Aikman completed 61.3% of his passes by the time he retired, which was insane. I think that was like the third highest ever. But the thing about it is, he had some seasons, man. He completed almost 70% of his passes. When we think of that today, it's Drew Brees. He completed 69% of his passes. Today, that would probably be like, based on the rules, today, probably like 78%.
Right. There we go. I got the chat. I had to refresh to get the chat to work.
Oh.
So let me ask you a question then, since you seem to be higher on Troy. Would you take Troy over Drew Brees?
Now, that's tough because, for one thing, 2 different eras, 2 different systems. But I'll tell you this, if Drew Brees played in the 90s, forget about it. I'm taking Troy. Because one thing, Drew Brees was too short. Drew Brees is only 6 feet. Very, very short. And the rules are different. I think you needed to be a taller quarterback back then. You just didn't have short quarterbacks running around because those guys would get killed playing back then.
I can't think of any short quarterbacks from that era.
There wasn't any. There wasn't. The rules now benefit the short guys now. That didn't happen back in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
So it's two different things. Who do I think is going to be remembered more? Troy was definitely big time in the playoffs. That's where he made his money. He won his first 9 playoff games, and he was big time. I think for his career in the Super Bowls, he's completed like 70% of his passes. It's insane. But it's hard to judge.
I don't think it depends on who you ask, what era they're from. I think the majority of fans today would probably answer Drew pretty quick.
Well, they're already calling for some people saying Drew Brees is top 3 all time. No, he's not. He's not a top 3 quarterback of all time. They get caught up in the moment with the passing numbers and everything.
They don't have the context of how the game used to be played. They don't have the context of Lawrence Taylor decapitating quarterback.
Yeah, you better run the ball.
Yeah, are you throwing a drag route and your wide receiver's jock is laid 20 foot away because he got crushed coming across the middle by Willie Gault or somebody like that?
I mean, back in the day, the no huddle did not exist. You got in huddles and you ran the ball more than you passed the ball. Even Joe Montana. Joe Montana only has 42,000 passing yards. He played 16 years. Doesn't sound like a lot, but I think when he retired, it was way up there though. I mean, Roger Staubach has like 27,000 passing yards.
Yeah.
And he played 11 seasons. And one other thing that hurts Troy, I think, on the numbers, he only played 11 years too. Actually, really like 10 years. 89 to 2000. That's all he played. And he was throwing 3,000 yards a season, which was pretty common for elite quarterbacks back then. Nobody was throwing 4,000 yards, really.
The thing that hurt Troy and Steve Young was they both got early retired from concussions.
They got. I mean, as great as that Cowboys offensive line was, Troy Aikman was getting hit all the time, concussions.
Yeah.
But if
I've heard stories that he thinks he had at least 13 concussions.
Oh, I thought it was more. I thought it was more than that.
Well,
Steve Young had a lot. Steve Young had a lot, though.
Yeah. Steve Young retired in 99 after 2 games. And the year before, just the year before, he threw 36 touchdowns, which was huge back in 98. 36 touchdowns today would still be pretty good.
Yeah, that's really good. Because nobody's averaging 36 touchdowns a season.
And he got knocked out in the second game from a concussion that he never played again after that.
Right.
Troy Aikman too,
Yeah.
Otto Graham, I was looking at some stats earlier. I mean,
Otto Graham's amazing. He was considered he was considered the greatest football player of all time when he retired. I mean, he had 4 first-team All-Pros, 3-time champion also. He was otherworldly for his time.
He had 44 rushing touchdowns.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
in a different era, he had 44 rushing touchdowns, and he had
and back in his day, you can take out the knees, you can face mask. It was tough to throw a football back in Otto Graham's day.
And 174 passing touchdowns for back in,
and he had, I think he was like 174 and 135. That's insane for his era.
I've heard people say about him, he could play now.
I think he could.
Yeah, absolutely. We may, who knows what Lamar ends up being, but, it's going to be somebody, or Russell Wilson maybe is another good guy to think about.
Yeah.
Where do you think somebody like Russell's going to end up in all this? Because
Russell, I think, needs to get some MVPs, and I think he really needs to show that it's his team. Because when he won the Super Bowl, I mean, he was just another guy on the team, really, to tell you the truth. It was all about the Legion of Boom.
Yeah. And Marshawn Lynch.
Lynch. Because I think that was his first or second year. I think somewhere around there.
Second year. And Marshawn, there's people right now that are saying Marshawn's, Mike Florio said this morning Marshawn's going to make the Hall of Fame. He thinks.
Oh, no, he's not. He's not going to make.
Mike Florio thinks Marshawn's a lock for the Hall of Fame.
I don't think so. Marshawn to me falls into.
Well, he's like a Hall of Very Good, frankly.
Yeah, he falls into, guys that have like 10,000 yards, like Ricky Waters or somebody like that. I think Marshawn is probably a little bit better than that, but I just don't see him making the Hall.
I can tell you, I watch Ricky Waters. I'd take Ricky Waters every day of the week over Marshawn Lynch. Ricky Waters was
really good.
Phenomenal. Yeah. He played on some Niners teams. Phenomenal running back. He doesn't get nearly enough credit.
Yeah, Corey Dillon also has like 11,000 rushing yards. He's not in Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it surprised me this morning. On Pro Football Talk, I watched the show this morning, and they were talking about Lynch, and he was like, I think he's getting in. I'm like,
and you know what, your boy, I know this is your boy, man, Frank Gore. Yeah, that was the sneakiest 15,000 yards I've ever seen.
I know, but he's moonwalking in because of that.
Well, the thing is, he was never really a dominant back in the league. When you thought of like the best bats, his name never really came up.
He was a for somebody that watched him all the time, he was a dominant back on terrible 49er teams. I mean, terrible. He came along during the Alex Smith rookie season, second season. I mean, Alex was throwing 1 touchdown, 11 picks his first year, and all they had was Frank. Just give the ball to Frank, you know. But yeah, Frank will get in. Adrian Peterson will get in, you know.
Oh yeah, he's walking in. Did Adrian Peterson make the list for the running backs?
I don't know. I haven't even seen the running back list, I don't think. All of yesteryear's greats could play today because they would have had today's health and fitness advantages. Athleticism is timeless. Yeah, a lot of people say, well, the best athletes are today, but you would apply the same, you know,
I don't know
health advances to those guys that you would today. You know, they wouldn't look the same either. You know.
I don't know. I don't know about all of the guys.
I would love to see Dan Marino play today. Jesus.
Me too. That would be.
He might throw for 100,000 yards.
That would be really, really interesting to see Dan Marino playing today. I don't think Adrian Peterson made it.
Wow. Who's on that list?
Let me go back here.
Gail Sayers, I would assume, probably. Walter Payton. Emmitt Smith is going to be on there.
Guys. Hold on, let me see here. Oh, that was 12 running backs. Okay. We got okay. All right. Yeah, he didn't make it. It was Dutch Clark from 1938, Steve Van Buren, Marion Motley, Jim Brown, Lenny Moore, Gail Sayers, OJ, Walter Payton, Earl Campbell, Harry Dickerson, Barry, Emmett. Oh, that's it.
So none from the last 15 years, 20 years. Really?
The other people that was on the finalists were Marcus Allen, Jerome Bettis, who I think is way overrated, Tony Dorsett, Marshall Faulk, Red Grange, Franco Harris, Hugh McElhenney, Bronco
Nagurski.
Nagurski.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson, Jim Taylor, Thurman Thomas, LaDainian Thomason.
He was at least in the finalist.
Yeah, he was a finalist. That's
okay. Oh, all right. Did you say Jerome Bettis?
Yeah, way overrated to me.
Oh,
the bus was always overrated.
No offense to Steelers fans, but
he ended his career with average rushing attempt 3.8 yards a carry.
Yeah,
that's not very good. He's a big guy though.
It was that Super Bowl, that final Super Bowl that put him in, and
probably so. Yeah,
Edgerrin James, I would consider to be personally a better running back than Jerome Bettis, and he's not in yet, I don't think.
No, he's not going to get in.
Yeah.
The only person I think that's really going to get in is Adrian Peterson. He's about the only one I think that's not in the hall that's going to get in. LaDainian's already in. And Marshall Faulk is already in. Man, I can tell you who was really, really great, but man, his career got cut short. Priest Holmes. You remember him?
Oh, yeah.
That dude,
Kansas City Chiefs.
That dude was amazing.
Yep. There was another Chief that had a career cut short, just kind of fizzled out of nowhere, but Jamaal Charles was a monster.
Yeah, Jamaal Charles is from my neck of the woods.
Yeah.
He's from Beaumont, I think.
Yeah. The counter argument is today's athletes aren't as tough as the old timers, but they would have been had they played in that era.
I think everybody would adjust to different eras. I mean,
your influences would be different too, so
yeah.
you would, do I think, there's some real divas out there that would get their heads knocked off if you just took them and dropped them into the air. Sure.
Yeah. The thing, Don Hudson is in the Hall of Fame. His numbers were astronomical for his time. The only thing is, there wasn't any full-time players back then. I mean, he was, but he was playing against like used car mechanics and stuff. People that didn't train all season. And no, he had 100 reception touchdowns, which is really, really good. But it's kind of hard to evaluate him,
Right. Right. What about do you still got that list up? You got the receivers?
I can go to, let me go to NFL 100 site.
It's a good thing he's dead, because I wouldn't want to be the one to tell Bronco Nagurski that he didn't make the list. Right. Oh, that was a tough SOB. Receivers, I would immediately assume T.O., Jerry Rice, Michael Irvin.
All right. What you want to see?
The receivers, just
receivers.
Yeah.
Let me find it.
Maybe Calvin Johnson might be on that list. I don't know.
Okay. Let me share my screen too.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go to the official roster. And you want to go to wide receivers?
Yeah, I just wanted to see who.
Okay, let's go.
Anthony Munoz was a beast.
Wide receivers. Bam, right there. Lance Allworth, Raymond Berry, Larry Fitzgerald, Marvin Harrison, Elway, Hirsch, Don Hudson, Steve Lodgren, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, Paul Warfield.
Wow. T.O. didn't make it.
No T.O., no Michael
Irvin.
That shocked me right there.
Wow.
Now, I mean,
wow.
Now, some of the old guys I really don't know about, so I can just look at. I respect Larry Fitzgerald, but I'm taking T.O. and Michael Irvin over him.
Every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
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 Holy Jesus. And you know what? I know I'm a 49er fan, but Michael Irvin was the most physically dominant wide receiver I've ever seen in my life, just on pure physical, like manhandling. I mean, he made catches.
Yeah, they called him a playmaker for a reason.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When we played y'all, he's the guy that scared me the most.
Yeah. More than Emmett.
Oh, yeah.
You look up Emmett was 10 yards down the field before you can catch him.
I know it, but Michael just and Michael played wide receiver with the same enthusiasm and passion that Brett Favre played quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wanted to win at all costs.
Yeah. It's too bad that he broke his neck in Washington, man. Oh, man, I still remember that.
Philly.
Yeah.
They cheered him when he broke his neck.
Yep. I mean, him and Aikman, man, they got their careers cut short by injuries. Emmett was the only one that was durable.
Yep. God, man, as a Niners fan, I had nightmares about it.
Yeah.
I can't say I've just got any issues with the quarterback list.
I don't have any really.
What about the tight ends? Did they put Gronk on this list?
Yes, the tight ends: Mike Ditka, Tony Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski, John Mackey, Kellen Winslow.
Yep.
So 5 of them. I feel like somebody's missing.
Well, I'll tell you who will be on there in about another 3 or 4 years. Travis Kelce.
On this list?
Oh, dude.
Oh, wow.
Travis Kelce is. Did you see the year he just had? Or the year he's having? Good God.
But
dude, he is.
You got other tight ends too that can make an argument. Jason Witten, he's been around a while. But the problem with the tight end position is it's become more of a receiver position now versus it was a blocking position, back in the 90s. And I mean, they call receptions, but it wasn't a lot at all.
Right.
The way these guys are doing it today.
People don't realize how great Jay Novacek was.
I know. I was just about to say Jay Novacek, man.
Yeah, he was absolutely fantastic.
He was a great blocker too.
Yeah.
Do they even have fullbacks on here? Because the fullback position, no, they don't have fullbacks on here. They just combined it with running backs. So I remember the fullback position used to be a real thing back in the day. Now fullbacks, teams use them for like gimmicky, need 1 yard. They just put them in and that's it. It used to be a real thing.
The Niners had a hell of a great tight end for about 7 years. His name was Brent Jones. A lot of people forget about Brent Jones. But he caught a lot of passes, but for that error. But when you compare it to somebody like Rob or Tony or Travis Kelce caught over 100 balls this year at tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane,
Yeah. A tight end back in the 90s would probably catch 40 passes? In the season?
That'd be a lot. It'd be a lot.
If that, probably like 20.
Yeah,
something like that.
The Niners got one right now George Kittle is gonna end up being a beast.
Yeah.
Let's
look at the coaches here. I really haven't looked at the coaches. All right. Bill Belichick, Paul Brown, Joe Gibbs, George Halas, Curly Lambeau, Tom Landry, Vince Lombardi, Chuck Noll, Don Shula, Bill Walsh.
I can't argue with any of those.
I can't think of anybody that should also be on the list, really. I mean, this is
I can't think of anybody else that got left out there.
I mean, you can make a case for John Madden. He won 3 Super Bowls, but that's maybe about it. But other than that, I mean, Chuck Noll won 4 Super Bowls. Don Shula won 2 Super Bowls. Bill Walsh didn't he win 3? Because he wasn't the coach of the first one with Joe Montana.
Cowher only won 1, right?
Yeah, but Cowher wouldn't be on this list.
Yeah.
I can tell you the coach.
I'm thinking of guys that coached one team for a long time.
Yeah. I can tell you a coach that would absolutely be on this list if the owner didn't mess it up. Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson.
Oh my God, that's who's not on the list.
Jimmy Johnson could coach with any of these guys, but Jerry Jones screwed him. I mean, I just don't get this, man. Jimmy Johnson was Bill Belichick before Belichick. Jimmy Johnson is still not in the Hall of Fame for being a coach.
You know what? I guess of my lifetime, when I think about it as a 49ers fan, there's only 2 coaches that have ever scared me as a team when we've been good and been in contention. And that's Belichick and Jimmy Johnson. That's the only 2 coaches. And we wouldn't have to play Belichick very much, but we dreaded playing Jimmy. I guarantee you.
And Jimmy went to Miami with no talent, and he couldn't do nothing. But other than that, really nothing I could say about the coaches, really.
Paul Brown is disqualified for picking Homer fucking Rice to succeed him as a coach of the Bengals because he didn't like one of his other coaches, Bill Walsh. Yep, that's right.
Well,
You know, Bill Walsh is the creator of the West Coast offense.
West Coast offense. The
Now,
short passing game.
almost every team in the league runs a variation of it. You know?
Yeah, they do.
That's wild.
Think of this, man. There is 2 Packers on here. Vince Lombardi, Curly Lambeau.
Yep.
And Tom Landry. Let me talk about Tom Landry, man. New England is on their... Did they just... They have the 19th straight winning season, I believe.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because in 2000, they sucked. They don't even have the record. It's the Dallas Cowboys under Tom Landry. 20 straight winning seasons. That's insane, man. That is really, really insane. 20 straight winning seasons. And he went to 4 Super Bowls, 1, 2. And, man, Jerry Jones fired him. I'm not going to say it wasn't the right move because he got Jimmy Johnson. But, man.
Right.
Jerry Jones fired Tom Landry, man. I can't believe I'm even saying that.
Well, I know Cowboy fans that hate Jerry for that to this day. They hate the man that fired Tom Landry. And I'm like, he's also the owner that helped you win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years.
After the fact, I mean,
you
just don't fire Tom Landry. Tom Landry was the Cowboys.
I can remember watching him come out with that hat on as a kid, you know. Yep. My dad loved Tom Landry. Good God.
Man. I did too, man. I did too as a little boy. And he was still winning. He was still winning after Staubach retired. I mean, Danny White was a really good quarterback, but he couldn't get him over the top. I think they lost, 3 straight NFC championships?
If you ever meet my father, don't ever say Danny White was a good quarterback. My dad cussed Danny White more nights than I can possibly remember. I didn't even think Danny White's name was Danny White. I thought it was Sorry Some Bitch.
Your dad is a Cowboys fan?
Oh, yeah. He cussed Danny White up and down. I mean, like... And it's funny because my whole life as a kid, you know, up until you're probably 1988, I didn't really look at statistics and all that sort of thing. So I had no basis. It wasn't until, 88, 90, I got a little older and started collecting football cards and stuff.
Yeah.
That I started looking and going, Danny White's got pretty good numbers here. My father hated him.
I mean, he did have good numbers. But the thing is, when you're a Cowboys fan back in that day, coming off the Staubach era, you're spoiled.
Right. Right.
you are. And he couldn't get him over the top.
Oh, my God. My dad hated Danny White.
Yeah. Now you know with what I'm going through growing up on the Cowboys in the 90s, I was in high school, to what we got today. It sucks.
It's all coaching now. It is all coaching.
You know how bad it is being a Cowboys fan? I remember exactly where I was. Exactly what I was doing when they won the last Super Bowl in 96. I was in my dorm room. I had a Troy Aikman poster on my wall. I had a Dallas Cowboys blanket. And I had my little box TV that we had back in the 90s. And my buddy down the hallway, he was a Cowboys fan too. And we're in Louisiana. We're in Lake Charles, Louisiana. The people out there, they hate the Cowboys. They're all Saints fans, and the Saints sucked back then. Yep. Boy, they hated Cowboys fans. Yep. And I remember, man, just cheering. And I can't remember nothing since then.
The Saints were in the NFC West back then. I remember that. They were rivals of the Niners. Yeah. Hey, click on linebackers. I want to see who all's in there. We know that Ray Lewis and Lawrence Taylor is going to be on here.
I didn't even think about Ray Lewis. Yeah, he's on there. Chuck Benarki, Benarick, Bobby Bell, Derek Brooks, Dick Butkus, Jack Ham, Ted Hendricks, Jack Lambert, Willie Nanier, Ray Lewis, Joe Smith, Junior Seau, Lawrence Taylor. I think that's about it. Yeah, that's it.
Derek Brooks. I wonder who all got nominated on that.
I don't know.
Derek Brooks was a great one. He was.
Yeah. I mean, Ray Lewis, Junior Seau, Lawrence Taylor, no brainers. Dick Butkus too.
Yeah.
Jack Lambert also, man.
No brainer.
A lot of great players, man.
Yeah.
Derek Brooks on that Tampa Bay team.
With Warren Sapp. Yeah.
Let's see. Defensive end. Doug Atkins. Bill Hewitt.
Bruce Smith.
Deacon Jones.
Yeah.
Gino Marchetti. Leroy Selman. Bruce Smith. And of course, the Minister of Defense, Reggie White.
Eric Brings said, quit whining. I was drunk the last time the Bengals even won a playoff game. I've been sober for 28 years.
Yeah, hadn't that been like since 1992 or something? I think it's been something like that.
Boomer Esiason was probably the quarterback.
I'm actually shocked that the Bengals actually went to a Super Bowl back in the 80s. That's shocking.
The Niners beat them.
Yeah. And the Niners barely beat them too, I think. That was
they played us very tough. It was like the last drive of the game.
Yeah,
to win.
It was like, wasn't it like 16-13 or something like that?
Yeah. We beat or I thought we beat them 2017 or 2016, something like that.
I thought it was a lot closer than that.
But it was scary. Maybe even 2019. Maybe they hit a field goal. I can't remember.
Yeah.
That's been a long time ago. That would have been the 88 Super Bowl, 88 or 89 Super Bowl.
Yeah. Defensive tackle, Buck Buckman, Mean Joe Green, Bob Lilly, Merlin Olsen. I remember him as being an actor. Alan Page, John Randall, and of course, Danny White. Randy White. I said Danny White. Randy White. And cornerback.
Wow. Where's Howie Long at?
Did make it.
Wow.
Cornerback. This should be super easy.
Willie Brown was who I was thinking of earlier. I said Willie Galt. Good God.
Mel Blount, Willie Brown, Darrell Green. Man, he was really good. Mike Haynes.
Fast.
And the coolest name probably in football, Dick Night Train Lane. That just rolls off the tongue, man. Primetime Deion Sanders, Rod Woodson. And you can actually make a case for Deion also being on the special teams part too, but I know they picked Devin Hester.
Lewis Billups dropped the Montana pass on the game-winning drive. Billups unfortunately played for the Bengals. Dropped an interception.
Yeah.
Ronnie Lott.
That's safety.
That sucker, take your face off.
Yeah. Ed Reed, Ken Houston, Jack Christensen, Emlyn Tunnel, Larry Wilson. I can tell you a safety. Maybe people just forgot how great he was. I didn't, because we played him all the time. Scared the daylights out of me. Merton Haints and the Chicken Dance.
Yeah.
That dude.
Absolutely.
That dude was really good, man.
Yeah, he was very good. Yeah.
Really, really good. And boy, he'll get the interception, man. He'll be.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was really good.
Charles Woodson was a damn good safety, too.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. People forget how good Charles Woodson was.
Kicker, I can't pronounce his name. Okay. He played from 1967, 1985, and Adam Vinatieri. Now, you would think that the what's the family of kickers? They probably would have made it. What's his name?
Eric Breen. fun fact, Billups died in a police chase. God, dog. I'm not, I don't know that that's a fun fact, but
Billups, punter. Now, how do they even really kind of grade punters? I wonder. That's got to be a tough position to pick, you know? Ray Guy, Shane. How did they even pick these people?
I don't know. Shane Leckler.
It's so hard.
He's a good one.
Yeah, but
official
it's so hard.
KJ. Peyton Manning did make it. Yes.
Yep, Peyton Manning made it. Not a surprise. He was going to make it.
Jan Stenerud is how you say that guy's name. Who's returner there?
Devin Hester and Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Yep.
But I remember, man, Devin Hester, when he was playing, guys actually kick it out of bounds and just take the ball to the 40-yard line because that's how dangerous he was. He was always a threat to take it to the house. I remember people would deliberately kick the ball out of bounds and take the penalty.
Yeah. Hester's a beast.
Yeah, we already looked at tight ends.
Offensive tackle Larry Allen's going to be on here.
Offensive tackle
Walter Anthony Munoz,
Roosevelt Brown, Forrest Gregg, Cal Hubbard, Walter Jones, Anthony Munoz, Jonathan Ogden, and Art Shell. Guard, Larry Allen. Nothing to say about it. Probably the greatest guard ever. Dan Fortman, John Hanna, Bruce Matthews, Randall McDaniel, Jim Parker, and the late, great Gene Upshaw. Center, Mel Hine, Jim Otto, Dwight Stevenson, and the great Mike Webster. Man, that's so sad what happened to him, man.
Who's the best quarterback in you guys' opinion?
TB12.
Yeah, it's Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's not much of a question. Not much of a debate, I should say.
Yeah, the Atlanta Super Bowl closed that door for me.
Yeah. And everything else we kind of went over. Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady. Number 2, Joe Montana for me. Probably Joe Montana for you also.
Yep.
My top 5, actually, and they all made the list in order. Tom Brady, Joe Montana, John Elway, Roger Staubach, Peyton Manning. That's my top 5.
Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning. God,
that's in order?
Me. Yeah. Brett Favre. Dan Marino.
Yeah. And to tell you the truth, honestly, it's so hard because in reality, I would probably put Otto Graham up in like the 3rd spot, but I just didn't see him play. That's the only thing. I'm willing to bet if I saw him play, it may be hard to not put him number 1 based on everything that he did, man. His career was otherworldly. But I'm just ranking players based on who've I seen play.
It's hard for me not to again mention Warren Moon.
What hurts Warren Moon is his playoff success was next to none. I think he only won like 3 playoff games total,
something like that.
That's pretty bad.
Yep. Yeah, he ended up playing quarterback on a lot of just what would be considered the Tennessee Titans type teams of today,
Yeah.
Jacksonville Jaguar type teams, that needed a quarterback. And
it's funny. I was going to say, it's funny, though, that we give Peyton Manning a lot of flack about playoff success. He won 14 playoff games. I think that's probably 3rd highest. I'm not mistaken. I mean, first is Tom Brady with like 30 by a mile over Joe Montana at 16.
Yeah, I just don't even think there's a question with Tom.
Nah.
It's still weird that, I mean, he's such a polarizing player. I mean, you put that video up, and there are people that hate his guts.
Yeah.
They still think he's a cheater. I mean, my God, he was drafted in the 6th round.
Yeah.
And there's stories about his work ethic, and it's just, look, some people will work harder than other folks. It just, they get out there and he does the repetition. He's fueled by the fact that he feels like he was slighted, even all the way back to Michigan, where he hardly got the start.
Yeah. Let me tell everybody something about the cheating aspect. All these teams were cheating. I mean, as great as Bill Walsh was, the man was cheating with his headsets. The rules were, back in the day, if your headset wasn't working, the other team had to stop using their headsets. So I think what happened was he deliberately sabotaged the headsets, so the other team couldn't use it. They had to use hand signals or something like that, and he won. And let's be honest about the way that the Broncos won their 2 Super Bowls with John Elway. They committed salary cap fraud. They did. And they were also lining up, putting cooking oil on their shoulders, so where you couldn't even grab the offensive lineman, you just slide it off. I mean, people talk about the Patriots cheating, but everybody was cheating. I mean, Atlanta, people forget this already. Just a few years ago, what were they doing, Rhodes? Pumping crowd noise into the stadium.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they got busted.
Yeah. Seattle's been doing it for years.
Yeah. And who was it that was caught heating up footballs on the sideline? Nothing happened to him. This was only a few years too. I think it was wasn't it Atlanta? No, was it Seattle? I can't remember who it was. They were caught on the sideline heating up the footballs. You can't do that. But nobody cared.
Look, let's just address the elephant in the room. Deflating footballs. Do you know how many ex-quarterbacks came out and said everybody did that?
Aaron Rodgers said he was overinflating them. Now there's a limit. You can't overinflate the footballs. He said it. Nothing happened to him.
They said we aired the footballs up to feel the best that they feel in our hands. Yeah. And and they made it a big deal because it was Tom Brady, when everybody in the league basically had been doing it.
Yeah. And this is a different sport, but Shaq said he deflated the basketballs when he played.
Yeah, it's just convenience, and it's because they go out and they whip whoever. Yeah, they go out and whip that ass, and people have an issue. Look, I'm kind of pseudo adopted the Jets as my second team. It is what it is. The Patriots have beat their brains in forever. And it's because they can't draft right. They can't hire the right coaches. Their organization is a clusterfuck, okay? Yep. It's got nothing to do with Tom Brady. Have a better ownership. Woody Johnson is a joke.
Yep.
And that can go the same for, Cleveland and Cincinnati and all these other teams that Tom Brady's been kicking their ass all these years. Yes, it does have to do with ownership. Look at the Niners were a tire fire with Jed York when they first took over the team from Eddie D. And it wasn't until Jed York finally said, you know what? I'm taking myself out of football operations. It was after him and Jim Harbaugh got through feuding, we lost Harbaugh because of bad ownership. We hired Jim Tomsula, arrow to the eye hole. And finally, after 2 years, Jed York said, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm taking myself out of this. I'm going to hire John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan together. And I'm taking a step back and I'm getting out of football operations. And guess what? The Niners have won. They're 12-3 right now. You know, I don't know. It's the best quarterback and coaching combination in the history of football.
Yep.
Sorry,
no,
folks.
I don't even think it's even that much of a debate.
No, I don't either. I don't either. It's the strangest thing, the amount of hate that team gets, you know? I don't know. And people that have played on that team under Bill said that Bill doesn't have a specific coaching philosophy. His philosophy is to create a brand new scheme every single week based on the team he's playing. You know what I've heard about Jason Garrett? He has never changed his scheme in 7 years, regardless of team.
You heard what Tom Brady said when he was on there. I don't know if you were actually watching then. He was saying how they were introducing Peyton Manning, and he said that him and Peyton would work out in the offseason, hang out for a few days and everything, and they would go over all these drills and things like that. And he saw this one play that Peyton would do. It's like a crossing route, almost like a quick out, like 2-step drop, pass it right down the middle to Marvin Harrison or something like that. And Tom Brady went back to the Patriots and said, hey, we got to get this in the system. And you know who benefited the most from it? Rob Gronkowski. He said that Rob Gronkowski probably got 50% of his plays, all plays based around that Tom Brady basically stole from Peyton Manning and the Colts because he was working out with Peyton in the offseason.
Yeah.
But Bill Belichick said that him and Peyton Manning were talking 4 hours at the Pro Bowl, and they didn't want to give anything away to each other. That's funny. He said it was just basically 4 hours asking questions and not receiving any answers.
Yeah, I wish Peyton would have gotten a couple more though, you know.
Yeah, I'm just, it's so sad the way he ended up going out. I mean, the way his last season and a half, man, that was not Peyton Manning. I know he won that Super Bowl, but I don't know who that guy was. He was just done. I didn't want to see him go out like that. I'm glad he got another ring, but it just didn't look right. It wasn't Peyton Manning anymore. He couldn't throw the ball 10 yards down the field.
I was listening to every Monday. I listen to Ryan Russillo, and he has Chris Long, who was the defensive end for the Patriots and the Eagles and the Rams. And he said that they played Peyton during that last season. Just this last Monday, he was talking about it.
Yeah.
And he said that he knew. He said he watched Peyton throw the ball, and he was like, whoa, he's done. He's done. He said Peyton was just throwing ducks. Flat ducks. He said he had no arm left.
Yeah. He had so many
legs
balls
left. Yeah. Yeah. He said it was actually kind of, even though he was on the opposing sideline, he said it was kind of sad to see because he said you were like, God, Peyton's done. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually what being done is, because if you look at Brady this year, Brady doesn't look nothing like that. It's a clear difference between being done versus not having any help. And if you look at Brady throwing the ball, he still has the
throwing
arm.
Bullets still.
He's still throwing bullets.
Yeah.
He just has garbage receivers.
Yeah. Well, that team was so reliant on having a dominant pass catching tight end that it is flooring that Bill did not address that issue in the offseason in some way.
They have the worst tight ends in the league.
They got Benjamin Watson is on that team right now.
Yeah.
He hadn't been a factor in what, 4 years? 5 years?
You see
maybe?
that, and you see now the AB worked out for the Saints, and the Saints want to talk to the league and find out his eligibility status.
I saw that.
So I'm like, man, they don't even really need AB.
That scares me.
The Patriots
right
need
now.
AB badly, and they won't get Tom any help. But at this point, they're just going to roll what they going to roll with. I mean, I guess it was good that they released what was the other receiver's name?
What,
Josh Gordon, because Josh Gordon, because now he's suspended again.
I saw that. I think they knew that was coming. I think that's why they cut him. But I don't know. He's not big enough, but part of me was like, tell Muhammad Sanu to put on 15 pounds right quick and put him at tight end.
Yeah.
Because at least he's so fast, he would be a mismatch against linebackers,
Yeah.
But I don't know what they can do. I mean, do you honestly see them beating the Chiefs or the Ravens?
I guess it's possible. I mean, we were kind of having the same talks that were happening last year. Same situation. But they came in. I mean, they didn't have a good December last year, and they won the Super Bowl.
But Rob came back last year. That's the difference. They got their guy
wasn't.
back.
He wasn't the same guy. But when they needed that one bit play, he was able to deliver. So maybe that's the difference.
The other thing is, even though Gronk wasn't the same, you had the threat of Gronk, right?
True.
You had
you did.
attention. The defense had to give that attention to Gronk.
Yeah.
And free somebody else up. Yeah, that's right.
And they burned him in the Super Bowl on one play.
He's talking like he may come back next year, but I don't know that Tom's going to be a Patriot. I really don't.
Well, I think it is. He'll probably go wherever Tom goes.
That's what I'm thinking. I think he's going to end up with the Chargers with Tom Brady.
That'd be a pretty good situation, I think.
And Josh McDaniels is going to end up coaching that Chargers team. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's the whole thing's interesting, but no, Tom does not look done. He's still throwing bullets out there. Absolutely.
He looks frustrated, mainly. Even though they got to go in last week against the Bills.
Bill's got a good defense. I mean, I can't fault him for that. I mean, so who knows? Any final words, John Matrix, for tonight?
No. That's about it. I think the top 10 QBs went pretty much as I expected for the most part. That's really about it. Too bad I won't be around for the 200 anniversary.
yeah, none of us will.
Nah.
I think the only borderline surprise might have been Dan Marino, but that was it.
Yeah, maybe so. But like I said, man, he was just so otherworldly when he played.
So good.
Yeah.
People don't realize. Yeah, he was so good. Tomorrow, I don't know what time. Are we doing NFL picks? You want to do them tomorrow or Sunday? Because tomorrow is are they having the college football semifinals? When are they? They're not tomorrow.
That's after the new year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just making sure, because I was like, we may have to adjust that around the college football semifinal. But that ought to be on the 31st, actually. I'll have to look.
Probably so.
I think we're done.
All right.
NFL picks either tomorrow or Sunday, one of the two. So that'll be live.
Yep.
Peace. We're out.
Till next time.